She thought she was just helping an old man. One small act of kindness. But what she didn't know was that this simple gesture would unlock secrets, change a family fortune, and turn her life upside down forever. When his grandson walked in with lawyers, everything she believed about trust, love, and loyalty was tested. What happened next will shock you and prove that sometimes a single act of compassion can change everything. It was a cold, rainy morning when Emily first saw him. The city streets were crowded, people rushing past, umbrellas bouncing in every direction, and the sky a dull, angry gray. Among the chaos, she noticed an elderly man struggling to carry 2 heavy grocery bags. His hands trembled, and his steps were slow and uncertain. His clothes were neat but worn, and a look of exhaustion and perhaps loneliness clouded his face. Emily felt a sudden pull in her chest. Without thinking, she darted across the street, slipping slightly on the wet pavement, and said, "Sir, let me help you with those." He looked up at her, startled, then relief washed over his features. "Oh, thank you, young lady." "That's very kind of you," he said in a soft, shaky voice. She carried one of the bags while he held the other, and together they navigated the puddles and slippery sidewalks. Along the way, she learned his name was Mr. Thompson. He lived alone in a small apartment nearby, and the walk had clearly exhausted him. Emily offered to carry the groceries inside, and he hesitated, almost embarrassed to accept, but finally allowed her in over cups of steaming tea. Emily discovered how lonely he truly was. Mr. Thompson's wife had passed many years ago. His children lived far away, and he rarely had visitors. His voice trembled as he spoke, but his eyes lit up with gratitude. Emily didn't just help with groceries that day, she helped him feel seen, heard, and cared for. By the time she left, something had changed. She realized this wasn't just a one-time act of kindness. It was the start of a responsibility, a bond she couldn't ignore. Over the next days, she found herself returning, helping him clean his home, run errands, and prepare meals. Neighbors began to notice the strange, heartwarming routine, how a young woman spent her mornings helping an elderly man. Day after day, Emily never thought about recognition, reward, or even how this relationship might affect her life. All that mattered was the smile on Mr. Thompson's face, the way he greeted her at the door, and the stories he shared of days long past. Little did she know, this small act of compassion would ignite a chain of events unexpected, life-changing, and even shocking that neither of them could have imagined. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Emily's visits became a part of her daily life, and she quickly realized that helping Mr. Thompson wasn't just about chores or errands, it was about companionship. She laughed with him at his old, sometimes silly jokes, listened intently to stories about his youth, and comforted him during the long, quiet evenings when memories of his late wife made his eyes glisten with tears. Mr. Thompson had lived a long life, but it had been a lonely one. His children were busy with their own families, and though he loved them, they rarely found time to visit. Emily, who had no obligations except kindness, became the family he had been missing for years. He shared his fears and regrets with her, moments he had never dared to tell anyone else. In return, Emily shared stories from her own life, making him feel connected to the present in a way he hadn't in years. Their bond grew deeper with every passing day. Emily helped him organize old photographs, listen to his favorite music, and even write letters to friends he had lost touch with. She made his world brighter, simple things, like a warm meal or a freshly swept floor, felt monumental because they were infused with care. Neighbors began noticing the change in Mr. Thompson. The once withdrawn and frail man now smiled more, walked a little taller, and seemed to greet the world with quiet confidence. Some even whispered that Emily was like a guardian angel, sent at the perfect time. But Emily never thought about praise. She didn't help him for recognition. She helped because she wanted to, because his happiness mattered to her. One afternoon, As Emily arrived carrying a basket of fruits and freshly baked bread, she found Mr. Thompson in the garden, tending to the small patch of flowers he loved so much. "Emily," he said softly, "you've brought life back into this old heart of mine. I don't know how I ever got by without you." Emily smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Little did she know that this peaceful routine, filled with laughter and quiet companionship, was about to face a test neither of them could have imagined. The arrival of someone from Mr. Thompson's past would challenge everything Emily believed about loyalty, family, and trust, and turn her world upside down forever. Emily had grown comfortable in her routine with Mr. Thompson, unaware that her life was about to take an unexpected turn. One bright afternoon, she arrived at his quaint little home carrying a basket of fresh fruits and homemade bread. She expected the usual warm greeting, perhaps a smile or a laugh. Instead, the front door was slightly ajar, and an uneasy silence hung in the air. Her heart skipped a beat as she cautiously stepped inside. There, in the living room, stood a sharply dressed young man, flanked by two men in crisp suits holding thick folders. His expression was calm, almost unreadable, but Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "Emily?" the young man called, his voice steady but firm. "I'm James, Mr. Thompson's grandson," Emily blinked. Grandson? Mr. Thompson had never mentioned a grandson. She opened her mouth to respond, but one of the lawyers stepped forward before she could speak. "We are here regarding Mr. Thompson's estate and legal matters concerning his care and guardianship," the lawyer said, placing documents on the coffee table. Emily felt her stomach tighten. All the time she had spent helping Mr. Thompson cooking meals, cleaning his house, keeping him company, suddenly felt like it was under scrutiny. James continued, explaining that he had returned to handle family matters, and was concerned about someone outside the family having influence over his grandfather's decisions. For the first time, Emily questioned herself. Had her kindness been misunderstood? Was she now seen as a threat rather than a friend? She looked over at Mr. Thompson, whose gentle eyes met hers with a mixture of confusion and trust. His frail hands shook slightly as he tried to speak, but the weight of legal formalities and the presence of lawyers made it hard to know where to begin. The room was tense. The atmosphere that had always been filled with warmth and laughter now felt cold and distant. Emily realized that the bond she had built might not be enough to withstand legal challenges and family suspicions. Yet, as she took a deep breath and steadied herself, a part of her knew that this was only the beginning of a story far bigger than she could imagine. A story that would test her courage, her loyalty, and ultimately, the power of genuine kindness. Little did she know, what came next would not only reveal family secrets, but would also change her life forever. The days that followed were tense and uncertain. Lawyers came and went. Papers were signed and reviewed, and Emily felt like a stranger in the home she had cared for so deeply. James observed her every move, his expression guarded and skeptical. He questioned her decisions, from the way she organized Mr. Thompson's medications to how she spent her time with him. Emily felt invisible, as if every act of kindness she had done was being weighed against legal rules and family suspicion. Despite the tension, Mr. Thompson refused to let Emily be dismissed. One evening, he called her into his small study, his voice gentle but firm. "Emily," he said, "no one can take away what we've shared. You've been more than a helper. You've been my family when I had none. I trust you completely." Emily's eyes welled up with tears. She had never expected gratitude or acknowledgement. She had only wanted to make his days a little brighter. Hearing those words, spoken so sincerely, filled her with warmth and courage. But there was still the matter of James, who remained skeptical. When James walked into the study that evening, he saw the bond clearly for the first time. He watched Emily help Mr. Thompson straighten a photo frame, witnessed her patiently listening as the old man shared memories, and noticed the genuine affection in both their eyes. Slowly, the rigid skepticism in James's posture softened. "I see now," James said quietly, almost to himself, "that you haven't come for money or influence. You've come out of pure kindness." Mr. Thompson smiled, relief washing over his face. "Emily has been my strength, James. She has cared for me when no one else could." After hours of discussion, James made a decision that surprised everyone. He formally welcomed Emily into the family, giving her a voice in Mr. Thompson's life and future. Legalities and inheritance no longer felt like threats. They became a means of solidifying trust and love. For Emily, the tension lifted like a heavy storm clearing the sky. She realized that her kindness had not only transformed Mr. Thompson's life, but had also reshaped the dynamics of his family. She had earned a place in their hearts, proving that genuine compassion could bridge gaps, heal doubts, and turn suspicion into understanding. The house that once felt uncertain and tense was now filled with warmth, laughter, and a renewed sense of family. Emily's small act of kindness had blossomed into something far greater, a connection that would last a lifetime. From that day forward, Emily's life and Mr. Thompson's was forever changed. The tension, the uncertainty, and the fear of being pushed out of his life vanished. With James's blessing, Emily continued to care for Mr. Thompson, but now she did so not as an outsider, but as a cherished member of the family. She helped him plan his days, tended to the garden he loved, and spent hours listening to his stories, which now seemed even more precious knowing they were appreciated by his family. The transformation was remarkable. The once lonely Mr. Thompson thrived in the warmth and company of Emily and James. Laughter returned to his home, and the small apartment that had once echoed with silence now buzzed with life and conversation. Neighbors noticed the change too, inspired by the sight of a young woman whose selfless kindness had sparked a ripple of joy and love. For Emily, the experience was life-changing. She had entered Mr. Thompson's world to help an elderly man in need, and had unexpectedly found a family, a purpose, and a home in the process. She realized that kindness, when given freely and without expectation, had the power to break barriers, heal wounds, and create bonds stronger than blood. The story of Emily and Mr. Thompson became more than just a tale of helping an old man. It became a lesson in humanity, a testament to the power of compassion. Even the legal formalities and the arrival of James, which had once seemed so intimidating, became part of a larger story about trust, love, and understanding. Emily learned that true kindness is never wasted, and sometimes it brings back far more than one could ever imagine. Years later, Emily would recall that rainy morning when she first helped Mr. Thompson with his groceries. She would remember the uncertainty, the hesitation, and the doubt, but most of all, she would remember the joy of seeing him smile. That simple act of compassion had changed everything. It had built a bridge between generations, healed loneliness, and proved that even small gestures can lead to life-altering outcomes. In the end, it wasn't the legal documents, the wealth, or the family name that mattered. It was the bond of trust, the warmth of companionship, and the understanding that love and kindness can transform lives. Emily had set out to help an old man, but in doing so, she had found a family, created memories, and learned a truth that would stay with her forever. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness leave the largest impact.